Your database just rejected the app with fatal password authentication failed. A routine Ansible deployment silently swapped vaulted credentials for the default changeme because a role variable wasn't passed. Let's break down Ansible linting and testing with Molecule, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Ansible linting is the process of statically analyzing your playbooks and roles for syntax errors, best practice violations, and security issues. The primary tools are Ansible Lint and yamllint. Ansible Lint checks over 100 rules organized into profiles from min to production. Molecule is a testing framework for Ansible roles. It automates the lifecycle of creating a test environment, applying your role, verifying the state, and destroying the environment. The Docker driver is the most popular for CI because it's fast and isolated. Ansible Lint profiles group rules by severity. The min profile checks only syntax errors. The production profile is the strictest, including all safety rules plus requirements like name missing and no changed. When? Always use the production profile in CI. Here's a sample Ansible Lint file. Set profile to production and optionally skip or warn on certain rules. This enforces strict rules in CI. YAML is notoriously error-prone. Yamllint catches formatting issues like wrong indentation, trailing spaces, and truthy values. Install it with pip and run it on your repo. Here's a typical yamllint config. We set line length to 120 characters, enforce 2-space indentation, and disable the truthy rule to avoid false positives with Ansible variables. Initialize a molecule role with the Docker driver. This creates a molecule YML file. Set pre-build image true to use a pre-built image with Ansible installed, speeding up tests. The lifecycle includes create, converge, verify, and destroy. Here's a basic molecule YML. It uses the Docker driver with a pre-built Ubuntu image. The verifier is set to Testinfra, which allows Python-based tests. Testinfra is a Python framework for testing server state. You can check services, files, sockets, and more. Write test functions that start with test and use the host fixture. Run them with Molecule Verify. Here are example Testinfra tests. They check that Nginx is running and enabled, that the config file exists and contains expected content, and that Nginx is listening on port 80. If you prefer Ansible over Python, you can use the Ansible Verifier. Set Verifier, Ansible in Molecule, YML, and create a Verify YML playbook. It's slower but uses familiar Ansible modules. Here's a Verify YML that checks if Nginx is active using the command module. It registers the output and fails if the service is not active. In CI, run lint first to fail fast, then run tests. Separate jobs allow parallel execution. Pin tool versions to avoid environment discrepancies. Cache Docker images to speed up pulls. Here's a GitHub Actions workflow. The lint job runs Ansible Lint and yamllint. The test job depends on lint and runs Molecule-test. This ensures only linted code gets tested. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The playbook used the template module to generate an Nginx config. The template had a missing semicolon, but the module succeeded because it only checks if the template is rendered, not if the output is valid. The invalid config caused Nginx to fail, resulting in 503 errors. The root cause was that command tasks lacked a changed when condition, causing Ansible to always report changes and potentially restart services unnecessarily. The fix adds changed when, false to suppress false change notifications. The fix was to implement a linting and testing pipeline. Ansible Lint with the production profile would have flagged the missing changed when on the template task. Yamllint would have caught any YAML issues. Molecule would have tested the config by actually deploying it in a container and verifying Nginx starts. Now, such incidents are caught before production. This task uses the command module without changed when. It will always report changed, making it impossible to trust the changed count in Ansible Tower. Always add changed when, false, or a condition. Using shell when command suffices introduces shell injection risks. Use command unless you need shell features like pipes or redirection. Using short module names like copy can lead to conflicts if a collection defines a module with the same name. Always use fully qualified collection names like Ansible, built-in, copy. The article uses Ansible Lint profiles, e.g., production, which were introduced in version 6.0.0. If you are using an older version, 5x, profiles are not available. You must use strict or manually enable rules. Always check your version with Ansible Lint version and adjust your configuration accordingly. The article mentions pre-commit hooks but does not show the full configuration. Below is a complete pre-commit config, YAML that runs both Ansible Lint and yamllint before every commit, catching issues early. When running Molecule inside a Docker container, e.g., in CI, you must mount the Docker socket so that Molecule can communicate with the host's Docker daemon. Without this, Molecule create will fail with a connection error. Add vvar/run/docker, sock/var/run/docker, sock to your CI runner's Docker run command or use a Docker in Docker setup. When Molecule fails, use debug for verbose output. Run steps separately to isolate the issue. Log in to the container for manual inspection. Check logs in the cache directory. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is the difference between Ansible Lint profiles min and production? Min includes syntax only. Production includes all safety rules plus name missing, no changed when, FQCN built-ins. How do you test an Ansible role against multiple Linux distributions using Molecule? Define multiple platforms in Molecule, YAML, or use separate scenarios. What is the purpose of pre-build image, true, in Molecule? Uses a pre-built image with Ansible installed, speeding up the create phase. And a few frequently asked questions. What is the difference between Ansible Lint and yamllint? Ansible Lint checks Ansible-specific constructs. Yamllint checks YAML syntax and formatting. Can Molecule test roles without Docker? Yes, it supports Podman, Vagrant, Elastic Compute Cloud, and delegated drivers. How do I debug a Molecule test failure? Use debug, isolate steps, log in to container, check logs. Let's recap the key takeaways. Use Ansible Lint with production profile in CI. Yamllint prevents YAML parsing errors. Molecule with Docker provides fast role testing. Always run Lint before test in CI. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Ansible Windows Automation, then Ansible Network Automation, then Ansible Tutorial for Beginners, and Ansible V's Terraform. When to use each. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.